Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago, to Brunch, to Book Club Corner. We're so happy you could join us today. And Book Club Corner is where we talk to authors. I speak to authors about their love of the literary arts, about their books, and about the spoken and written word, because we know that without books, we'd be nowhere. Let's be honest. And we have with us today a fantastic author. October was Caribbean Folklore Month, and we'll be getting into the importance of that and this particular author. But with us today is the author of Chronicles of Kairi. He is a martial artist, he's a drummer, and he is the owner, founder, operator, along with his wife, his lovely wife, of Island Girl Tours. Welcome, David.
Thank you for having me here, Jewel.
It's
an honor
lovely
to be
to
here.
have you here with us. And David is a longtime friend. We know each other for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
David is in the Tobago Writers Guild. He's a published author. He has tours. He's an outdoorsman. He is really just doing what we advise and would love to see all our authors do, really promote their books. And we love that about... You all see this beautiful display? I don't know if you're picking it up. David brought the party, right?
Yes.
David brought the party. He and his wife set up this display, so we really love that. David, we want to talk about your book, Chronicles of Kairi.
Right.
We want to talk about, why you decided to become an author and why folklore, right? Because, last month was the Caribbean Folklore Month, right?
October.
And that was so designated by the Caribbean Books Foundation, right? And they had you do a reading at school.
Yeah, at Scarborough Public Library.
Yeah. So tell us about, first, I want you to tell me about your journey as an author. Why did you decide to become an author, a published author? Because many people write books and never publish them.
Right.
What was your impetus?
Me, when I was young and I was going to school in Naparima College, just one day, my English teacher didn't show up for class, and our art teacher subbed, right? She was sick. And he just gave us a little project. He said, listen, write about something in your daily life that occurs that's interesting and make it one page, right? So we were sitting there thinking, well, we don't really do anything but come to school, eat doubles, play football on lunchtime, and then come back to class, right? So I thought about my day, and actually, the most uncomfortable part of my day was the beginning, right? I lived in the south of Trinidad, Faizabad, and I would be picked up by a friend's dad with a very old car, right? And there was no AC, the car was rickety, it was, lots of muffler noises. The driver, my friend's father, was a chain smoker. So he'd be smoking cigarettes one after the other. Right. It'd be blazing hot sun. I'd be in Oropouche traffic, just in that backseat sweating, just waiting to get off this car, And I was like, it's so uncomfortable every day for a while. So I just wrote a story about that experience called The Traffic Jam. and I submitted it, and the next day, Sir brought back the results, and it was 9.5 or something out of 10.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I say, whoa, thank you, sir. That's nice. Why so much? He said, because when I read this story, I felt like sweating.
I like that.
He said, you captured it, right? I said, oh, and that's it. Oddly enough, that incident just subconsciously stayed with me forever and ever and ever.
Really?
But I'm a reader. I love to read. I read everything. Not as much as I want to anymore, but I used to read a lot. And then I just had this big imagination. And then one day, that whole incident popped back in my mind, and I said, let's just try something, right? And I started to write short stories and all this stuff. Then I realized I have this ridiculously large, vast imagination with all these stories to tell. So just try something, right? So after having a load of short stories, in 2006, I wrote a book called The Plan, right? Which was about a big incident that happens in the future. It's like a futuristic piece, but it's not sci-fi, right? And that had some success. I was, amazed by that. And then I just started to write, and I always had these ideas. Then I moved down to Tobago, and I've always had this really big story in my head, an epic story about the origins of everything. and the universe and everything and how it all went down. And I'm a huge ancient history buff.
Right.
Huge all my life. Since I can remember, I'm into the ancient world. Anything BCE and back, nothing AD.
Yeah.
And I had this idea, and all of a sudden the idea to merge that with Tobago and Trinidad's folklore just fell into place.
Yes.
Right? And that's why it has to be a series, because you're teased. You don't really know what's going on, but you're teased in the first book. So I kind of incorporated the ideas of the folklore creatures into this big story because it's actually a Trinidad and Tobago folklore fantasy. It may have the creatures that we know by names, but they're not going to be the way we remember them because or we know them because it's a retelling. Right? A whole new invention. Right? The creatures are actually not bad in this novel. Right? They're actually, So
they're not scary.
Yeah. So and what pushed it was being a tour guide. Every so often, when I pass by that big silk cotton tree in Runnymede, Mariah there, I would tell the story of that tree and tell the story of Gang Sarah and the other tree in Golden Lane. And people were saying, I have this big idea to use all these creatures in a story. And the foreigners are like, write it. And I'm like, I don't have time. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So I was left with a choice now. How do I write a novel that's local, but it can be in all dialect and local speak, because people foreign wants to read it as well. So I came up with this way to write it in proper English with Trinidad slang, but in a way it makes sense to the book. Right? Like, so it's, you could understand why it's written the way
I like that you mentioned COVID, because COVID had some silver linings. Right?
Yes.
COVID had some blessings even in the midst of the chaos.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of those things was the time to write, because a lot of people were so busy going. Right? COVID really slowed us down. But before we get any further, you know how we do it at brunch, and you know how Book Club Corner does it.
Of course.
We have to have our wine. And we got some very interesting wine. Let me tell you. So this wine is from Kairi Roots. Marlene, thank you so much. And she sent this. This is fever grass or lemongrass wine.
So there's a nutrition factor as well. All right.
And I love that because I love my wines, right? This is 16%. And let me tell you, Marlene girl, this was airing. I let it air for a little bit while David was chatting, right? And I'm smelling it all now. We do the 5 S's of wine tasting, and we're going to do them now. I'm so excited to taste this wine because this was a wine for COVID, right? And Marlene said this is why she came out with this wine, this fever grass, lemongrass wine, because of the health benefits that are attached to this product. So Marlene, thank you very much. We're going to let everybody know how amazing it is. And the 5 S's of wine tasting is where we see the wine. So we look at the clarity.
Number 1.
And you see this golden color? It's just beautiful. And then we swirl the wine. We're looking for the legs, for that sugar content. Right?
There we go. Right.
And then we sniff the wine. It has a very unique smell. Very much. And then we sip and we savor.
Cheers. Okay, that's good. I have to admit. That is good.
I have to take a second sip, guys. David, cheers to you.
Cheers, Jewel.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me here.
Marlene, this is amazing. I love the smell of it. It's really different. The flavors, lemongrass, wine. Let me tell you, Christmas is coming up. So all the local winemakers who have sponsored us wines on Book Club Corner, get your wines for Christmas, stock up. Don't forget, also get your books. Wine and books, they go together, right? We're going to be talking to David Rajpaulsingh about his book,
I don't want to
Chronicles.
Put this down. I know.
David, you're my kind of guy. We're going to be talking about the Chronicles of Kairi. And before we go anywhere else, as authors, the first thing that pops into our mind, Chronicles of Kairi. Why you pick that name? What's that? Tell us. What is that?
So you see how you said the word Kairi just now?
Yes.
So nobody knows for sure because we don't have enough records to determine exactly, but the consensus is, right, that Kairi is the first nations or the first people's name for Trinidad, right?
Correct.
So they call Trinidad Kairi before Columbus. That's what they call it when he came and he changed everything. And the belief is Kairi is translated to land of the hummingbird, which was important to the First Nations people as well. Yes. So the Chronicles of Kairi is kind of a double meaning because it's there to let you know it's about Trinidad and Tobago, but it's also something else in this novel why it's the word Kairi. Right. Right. And you have to read it to find that out. Right. So I'm using known facts, legends, incidents, and I'm kind of incorporating it into this story with my own take on it. Why this happened, why that happened. This incident that we know was a this, well, here's the real reason because it's so intertwined with everything because the major character in this book is Trinidad and Tobago. And primarily Tobago's main rich forests, which is the home of the creatures in this story, and the Pitch Lake. Amazing. Those are the two main locations, but it's all over. It's all over the islands. I've done research all over Tobago. I've gone into the mountains looking for stuff, found it. Done the same thing in Trinidad. Finished doing my research for volume 2, which I'm writing. I like to go to the locations that are going to be in here and actually visualize it, take pictures, take photos. So when I'm writing, it's as real as I can make it.
This sounds like a graphic novel coming up, guys. I'm so
it's
interested.
Fantastic.
Listen, adults like pictures too. I'm just going to throw that out. We like photos too. We like pictures. We love graphics, right? And his work is going to have some serious graphics in it about the characters. And as you can see here to the bottom, the character development in terms of bringing out those characters, not just in your imagination, but visually, right? And to give people that visual impact.
And if you look at these characters, so Alison Maiku, who is the art teacher for Naprima Girls High School, is the illustrator here.
Oh, really?
And she's amazing because she kind of takes my descriptions and she puts it down and she creates it. And we went back and forth and then voila, right?
Yes.
So there are characters in here that are not of our folklore, but they're part of the bigger story.
Yes.
And it's amazing how she, like her gang Sarah there, the Laja Bless, Papa Boy, it's all how I wanted it to look, and she captured it amazingly.
That's one of the things I love about being an author, the ability to use our creative license, people.
Yeah.
And add to stories. I mean, you can take literally any character you want and add to it, embellish it because it's fiction. It's your story. You can make it your own. And I love that you did that. Listen, the imagination is a really deep ocean. Sometimes an author, I fall into my imagination sometimes. It takes me days to get out. Right? Because this story just keeps pulling you in and pulling you. You're hearing the story in your head. Is that how it happens for you, David?
Yeah.
Your imagination creates this world that you then put on paper for us to read.
Yeah, and in this story, which will span maybe close to 2,200 pages at the end, because the volume 2 and volume 3 are actually big books again, which I know is not a popular thing, but this is how it has to be for this series.
Yes.
I have it all laid out and the ending is fantastic. So I just want to get there, but we don't have COVID anymore. So it's taken a little long. Because you have to get back to work, right?
Yes.
So,
unfortunately, authors aren't able, especially in the Caribbean. Let me just put a plug out for that. Authors aren't able to be full-time authors all the time in the Caribbean because of how, it's just set up that way. But we're making some changes to it, right? I'm a book marketer and I help authors try to monetize their books and their book products, try to make sure that they market their books well so that they can become full-time authors if they so choose. So they don't have to say, oh, COVID is finished. Well, I could never finish my book now.
Exactly.
Right? There's no excuse.
Yeah.
Right? So we want in the Caribbean for it to become the norm.
Exactly.
Where authors and creative people can do this full-time. It's not a side hustle. It's not a side gig. It's not something they do when they have time. It's something they do all day, every day.
Exactly.
As creators, let me tell you, that is the best life ever, just to stay there.
And if you gave me 20 years of just being on a computer and writing, I would have stories for that. I have so many. I have a children's book that has to come out too. There's just so many things to do. It's just my line of work is kind of chaotic and it's really busy these days. So it's just to get a handle on that. You know, it'll happen. It'll happen, yeah.
Well, coming out of Tobago Carnival, I could imagine how busy you have been for the carnival season. Wow. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We're coming back. David and I are going to be sipping on some of this lemongrass wine while we're taking the break. So check us out. Stay with us. We're going to have a few ads. They're going to pay the bills and come back, right? And we're going to talk to David. He's going to be reading to us from this book. So if you want to hear some actual chapters, some actual pages being read from this book, come back and we're going to be giving you some trivia answers later. So see you in a few minutes.
See you in a few.
Welcome back, guys. And we're here with David Rajpaulsingh talking about his book, The Chronicles of Kairi. And if you missed his introduction about the book, Kairi is the Amerindian name for Trinidad and Tobago, Island of the Hummingbird. And we're getting into his book because you know we love to be read to. We love to drink some wine on Book Club Corner. We really love to just chill out on Book Club Corner. So tell me, before we get into this piece of literature, right? Because the page you picked to read, 147, how many pages in this book, David?
520 or something like that.
Yeah. Listen, David does all sorts of fantastic things in this book. So he literally has a glossary to the back where he tells you about each character and what they are about and what they represent, right? But before we get into this book, I want to ask you this question. Is this self-published? And what has been your experience with publishing this book? Do you feel this is an experience you would like to repeat, or there could have been an easier way for you to go and get your book published? Tell us about that journey.
I think if we had publishing houses strictly for writers looking to express their art and themselves, not necessarily tied in with school curriculums, because that's what most publishers here tie in. It would be great. It would be refreshing so more people can have their voices heard and express themselves, because not everything is curriculum worthy or curriculum sensible, right? Because people would write graphic, like with killing and, you know, like not for teenagers.
Right.
So, and not to say that that's the genre, but they can write books with like, might have some swearing, some whatever, and they should be given a chance.
I love a good psycho killer book. Let's just put it
right.
there.
They should be given a chance. So, but everything here is so like washed clean that everything has to be for the publishers here to do. It has to be like that because it looks into like curriculum. Like this book has no sex. It has no cussing, no swearing. It has no bad violence.
Right.
But so it's considered young adult. Now, I don't consider this book young adult.
Yes.
I consider this book adult because of the themes. And there's some heavy reading in here. So I think, you know, if we, as the Caribbean, as Trinidad and Tobago, if we could have a couple of publishing houses that want to just publish locally and push it locally and push it in the foreign bookstores as well, like Barnes and Noble's chapters, it'd be great, but that doesn't exist. You know, most of the bookstores are intertwined with the publishing and, you know, it's all about...
Let me put it out there. I hear what you're saying, and I believe, because I've done some research as well, right? And I believe that there are a few of them here that would, you know, that would fall in line with what you're saying.
Okay.
But yes, I do understand what you're saying in terms of being able to get into that publishing space easily and seamlessly, right? No matter what you wrote, right? No matter what genre, no matter what you're putting in the book, you know, whether it's squeaky clean, right? Or a little bit grimy and dirty like we like it.
Yes.
Right?
And this itself was, this was very personal to me.
Yes.
So I'm a lover. I collect books. I have hundreds of hardcover books, rare books, expensive books. So I like the feel of this. So I wanted it this way, and it had to be a big book. And I know those two things are not popular, but I did it anyway.
They're not popular, but let me tell you, the bibliophiles out there, y'all know. I got your number, bibliophiles.
Exactly.
I have your number. I know what you like, because it's what I like, right? We love books, real books. We love
Holding
this.
it.
When we get the book, yes.
Smelling it.
David took the book right to his face. That's exactly what we like. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of smells like dog.
Not the glue smell. We're not sniffing. This is the new book smell, right?
The new book smell.
You get that plastic off. Like when you get a new car, you know, you get into that new car and you take the plastic off the seat and you're like,
It's a ritual. It's a pleasure. Like having the wine and doing your 5 tests. It's not like just picking up a wine and drinking it from the bottle, right? You have to go through these processes.
Exactly. You have to savor it. You have to savor each piece of it. And it is getting the book, touching it. I love covers. You know, some of them have this velvety feel. Some of them have this nice, smooth plastic feel that you have here.
And it just makes the experience that much richer.
Yes, because your book, we could just wipe this cover off clean. Anything, you know, if we were eating and reading, you could just take a little and clean it off really quickly. But before we go any further, because, you know, when we start to talk books in Book Club Corner, oh my God, is there any end? No. That's the answer. No. So let's get into page 147. David is going to read to us. Let me get my wine. Let me get myself comfortable. David, take it away.
Okay, so I chose this part because it's a quick synopsis of things to come, right? So you may not even get some of this in this volume. You'll get it in the other volumes, right?
Okay.
So 147, Trinidad and Tobago. In other parts of the world, dawn breaks with a casual nod and a subtle whisper, a courteous exchange of positions. Like two old and time-worn souls, the curator of night hands the keys over to his day shift counterpart as they part ways. But in Tobago's main-rich forests, this trade is heralded by Mother Nature's orchestra in a wondrous commingling of living things that echoes in the wind as it waltzes through the canopies, trails, and low-lying brush. Bamboo creaks against bamboo, leaves stir like trickling rainfall, animals crawl and scamper about, as over 200 species of spirited birds sing songs of freedom and joy in praise of the coming light. This new day, though, brings more than just the circadian rhythms of the tropics. Independent occurrences have begun throughout Trinidad and Tobago that would seem unrelated to one another at first glance, but to the enlightened were omens of unpredictable and likely dire times ahead. On this morning, a man dressed all in black enters the forest via the Fox Pigeon Peak Trail, accessed off the main road that connects the north and south coasts of Tobago. He is not on a pleasure walk or hike. His purpose holds a much deeper meaning. Securing his firearm and holster, he hides them well under his black shirt. Walking for 20 minutes, he departs the established trail and makes his way onto the much deeper forest, untraversed by others. Elsewhere, a teenage boy awakes on a secluded beach. Dazed and disoriented, he does not know his name or how he came to be lying on the grainy sand at the edge of the breaking waves with the light of the new sun warming his face and burning his eyes. He's wearing green swim trunks and a white sleeveless shirt only, nothing on his feet. He has no memory of anything, but he's not afraid. Not sure what island he is on, whether it be Trinidad or Tobago, he knows at least that it is one of them. He splashes seawater onto his face and inhales a breath of fresh, briny air. Go south. Those words flash through his mind. He gets up and starts walking. On Bird of Paradise Island, also known as Little Tobago, a loud bang followed by a strange animalistic scream resounds through the trees, scaring a flock of white-tipped doves off the branches as they take flight into the air haphazardly. Haphazardly. I can never say that word. It's crazy. Haphazardly.
It's one of those words, right?
Haphazardly, I got it. Right.
Yeah.
Docked at the jetty, a fisherman who had been dozing on his boat awakes suddenly and stumbles off his chair. Heart racing, he picks himself up and dashes to the back of the boat to seek out the reason for the shrill and frightening sound. He gasps and makes the sign of the cross as dread courses through his veins like electricity in a wire. Standing, momentarily stunned, some kind of creature, dressed only in shorts, gazes back towards the boat. About 6 feet tall, lean and sinewy, with short blonde hair, it incites a sense of panic in the fisherman as it stares at him with curious regard. What is freaking him out is the fact that the creature has 6 arms and is completely silver in color. Every inch of it gleams like polished metal in the rays of the new sun, as if it were made of pure light. Hurriedly, as if afraid, the creature looks away, reaches down and picks up something a couple of feet long with 2 arms. It turns back to the fisherman, eyes flaring an intense orange hue, then bolts onto the jetty and dives into the water, fleeing the scene into the deeper ocean as fast as a shark chasing its prey. Finally, in Piaco on a plane bound for St. Vincent, overcome by a sudden and desperate urge to go somewhere else, a man stands up and hails to the flight attendant. As passengers are still boarding, he retrieves his bag from the overhead compartment he'd placed there only a minute or two ago and hurriedly weaves through the slow-moving bodies. Given recent occurrences, it amazes him how easily and painlessly he was able to move. He meets the flight attendant who was making her way to him and explains that he must disembark immediately because his wife was just involved in a serious car accident. With great concern and willingness to help, she clears a path for him and he exits the plane. There is no accident. The man, who is also a pilot, had devised the best lie he could think of to get him off the plane without incident. With his important business trip to Kingstown now a fading memory, he moves with a new purpose. He has no idea where he's being called or what the talisman is, but he knows what direction he must go in. After paying for parking and departing the general airport vicinity, he makes his way onto the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway and begins his journey. Right? So a lot of story, right? And a big...
This show, they're lucky is only till a particular time we get to go. Because I'd have sit down here, poor wifey would have been saying, David, but we got to go because I wasn't like, you had to read this whole book. Right? It's that captivating. You want to hear more and hear more and hear more. Right? You all need to get this book. Chronicles of Kairi. David Rajpaulsingh. He has another volume coming up soon. And he just read to us. David, tell me, what's happening in these stories? Because I was following you as you were reading.
Right.
But it seemed that it was several people we were reading about.
Right. So because it's page 147, a lot has happened already. So the guy in the airport, who I said is also a pilot, he already appears in the beginning part of the book, but you don't know that. He's a character who was damaged in the forest by a animal, and Papa Boy saved him. Something happened that night, and now he has a calling. The young boy on the beach is also in the beginning of the book, as well as the creature is a new creature that's coming in for this whole showdown that's going to take place. And it's intertwined where, because I know the entire story, I know the ending of volume 3, I can play and do little tricks. I like my entertainment. I love complicated, complex movies. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan. I love The Matrix. I love stories where you don't really know what's going on, but when you do find out, it's like, oh, wow, right? So I kind of tease. I put little things that you wouldn't hear about for 500 pages.
Yes.
But when you come back to it, you'll be like, wait a second, he mentioned that, that's my kind of story.
Listen, I was watching this movie the other day.
Yeah.
They're not sponsoring us, but I was watching this movie the other day, Den of Thieves.
Right.
Listen, I did not see that ending coming. That's the kind of movies you want to be like, wait, what?
Yes.
Go back. What?
Yeah.
That's what you want.
I like that kind of stuff, and that's the books I love. I remember giving my dad one of my favorite books ever to read, because I know I was waiting for a reaction. And one day when I saw he was on page 245, right? I'm sitting there waiting, right? And he's reading, and he's like, "What? What the hell?" And he just got up and started walking around because the twist came, and I was waiting for him, and I was like, I got him, And it was a book called Lightning by Dean Koontz.
Your dad sounds like that book sounds like a book we had in our book club, but your dad sounds like he needs to join the Tobago book club.
Oh gosh, when he moves back, because he's dying to come to Tobago all the time.
Listen, tell him come, and when he gets here, let him join the Tobago book club, because listen, that reaction is exactly what happens in book club. When we read a book and you come and you're like, wait, I read this book, I didn't see that coming, and I'm pissed off. What the hell?
And then you go back and you see it was all the signs there. But you don't want my dad in book club because he'll only want to read James Bond, Ian Fleming.
I love James Bond. I just finished reading one called Silverfish.
Right. Oh, that, yeah.
The early one. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, in honor of my dad.
We're not going to go down that road.
In honor of my dad, Ian Fleming appears in volume 2.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We digress. The excitement, the wine. Let me tell you, today is especially listen, just special.
Mm-hmm.
Authors out there, if you've written a book, published a book, you have a book you'd like to come talk about, Book Club Corner, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, you can contact us and come and tell us about your book, right? That's what we're here for, providing a platform for all authors, published authors of books. If you write scripts and movie scripts, contact us as well, because they're so intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
You all get this book. We read from page 147 on purpose, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to tease you about the facts that are in the book that, we just wanted to jump into the middle and let you catch up. So get this book. It's Chronicles of Kairi. Where can they get this book of yours, David?
It's in almost every major bookstore in Trinidad, like RIK, Mohammed's, Ishmael Khan, all that. It's in some of the smaller, beautiful independent bookstores like Scribbles and Quills and these places. And it's also in all the bookstores in Tobago, right? Nelson's, Educators,
Yes.
And I also, if you live in Tobago, I also have Home as well, right?
And this is in Bacalat. You're in
Bacalat, yes, right. And one thing you said, and I got sidetracked, Irie, right? You said from Irie. People have claimed or think that Irie, or believe, is a offshoot of Kairi. Irie came from the word.
Really? Because, listen, the Jamaicans just claim Irie.
Yeah.
Everything is Irie, man.
Yeah.
Right?
They certainly use it more than us.
Yeah, but that's our thing, right? I love that. Listen, you need to know your heritage. You need to know your background and your history. And we had the Northern Regional SDA Primary School come and talk about their upcoming event, which was called Ethnic Callaloo. Now.
I love that
right?
name.
And talking about how the different backgrounds all come to make this Callaloo, and Callaloo is one of my favorite dishes, right? So I was, that's happening on Sunday, and not to sidetrack from David's book, but this is just, there's so much interconnection and interconnectivity and synergies that happen every day.
And that's what I want to tell you. Being a tour guide in Tobago and writing a book that showcases Tobago and Trinidad, I have seen things. We are amazingly, we live in an amazing island, right? It's gorgeous. There's so much to see. And I get joy bringing this to the young generation, telling them about the Moruga Pitch Lake, telling them about the pool of asylum in Chagon, in Charlottesville.
Wait,
and
you said Moruga Pitch Lake?
Yeah.
There's a Pitch Lake also in Moruga. There's Labrie and Moruga.
Yep.
Well.
Right. So I want to be in a tour guide, discover these places, and also give it to the new generation, because most people, most of the kids don't know. They don't know that the main ridge forest is the oldest proclaimed and protected rainforest in the Western Hemisphere.
I know.
They don't know we have more birds than anybody else in the world on an island.
The oldest protected rainforest in the Northern Hemisphere, guys.
Yeah, Western.
The Western Hemisphere. That is something that we can claim.
Right.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Right, we can claim having the most bird species of any island.
Yes,
right?
And there's a hummingbird that only exists in
white-tailed
Tobago.
saberwing.
Yes, and you can find it in parts of Venezuela as well.
Yeah, in the northern parts. I've been a couple
but only in Tobago you find this particular hummingbird. Tobago is so amazing.
So like when you said everything is intertwined, we can celebrate everything because it's all connected.
Yes,
right, and then I love like the young people I read to in the schools, they learn this and they're like, I didn't know that. I want to see this. I want to experience that. And they themselves are writers and visual artists and graphic designers. And it's let them breathe, let them do this, because the talent out there is amazing.
Listen,
and
guys.
a little bit of encouragement would be great for them to say, you could continue writing.
Yes.
And this will get published. Because I've read some stuff. Kids have given me what they've written. And I was like, I didn't write like this. Right? Like, this is amazing.
Yes.
14-year-olds, it's amazing. Yeah.
Listen, people, let's encourage it. This orange economy is something fantastic.
Yeah.
It is something that is revenue driven. It's not, this haphazard thing out there.
You said it perfectly.
It's real, right? Right? It's real. It's grounded. It brings revenue. It's something your children and the next generation can hold on to as a real career. Right? When I was growing up, I told my mom, I want to be an author. And there was crickets, silence.
Yeah.
If you heard nothing from her, that means she was not interested, right? She said nothing. She just listened. And I said, okay, well, maybe I need to find something else to do, right? Because maybe that's not so smart. But I'm just putting it out there. Authorship and being a full-time author is an excellent career for your children, for the next generation. The orange economy is really coming into its own. Don't discourage your children from their arts and craft and their creativity. Let it come out. Let it come out. And we're wrapping up right now. Thank you so much, David. And we close off with a cheers. Thank you, Kairi Wines. And this lemongrass, fever grass wine. Let me tell you, there's a vibe, people. There's a vibe. Get it. Get it. We're going on break. Get it. And we have trivia coming up. Get this wine. And it also is going to boost your immune system. So cheers to you. See you in a few minutes.
Cheers.
Oh, the trivia. Oh gosh, we're having such a good time. The trivia Tobago question. Can we have it, please? The name of the first man to swim from Tobago to Trinidad. And I know some of this information personally. When I give you the answer, right, you're gonna shake in your socks, right? The name of the first man who swam from Tobago to Trinidad, and we're coming up with the answer in a few minutes.